This is very paramount. Understanding the quotient, the ability to know what you know. And it is of this urgency that I want us to have a discourse on the three critical quotients. But before we go to the quotients, three quotients, let's look at three very important meaning of a quotient. A quotient is a result obtained by dividing one quantity by another. In other words, the outcome. A degree or amount of specific quality or characteristics. Now, that is our main focus. A degree or amount of specific quality or characteristics. That is a quotient. So when you talk about IQ, EQ, SQ, we are actually referring to a degree or amount of specific quality or characteristics or values. Now, it is a Latin word meaning how many times, the composition of something, how many times. Now, when you talk about a quotient, it is characterized by a division. So when you divide an item, the three critical components, we have dividend, the word to be divided, and then we have divisor, which is a division term, and then we have the quotient, the results, the outcome, and then we have the remainder. So when you divide a number by a whole number, then the results always gives a remainder. So those are the insight about the quotient. Now there are three Q's or three Q's, and I want us to have a deliberate understanding of these three Q's. Number one is IQ, which is the intelligent quotient. Number two is EQ, which is the emotional quotient. Number three is the spiritual quotient, SQ. Now, different psychologists have actually affronted different types of Qs. Now, others have given us 4, others have given us 5, others have given us 6. So, depending on which version you are actually interacting with. But from my own, I've tried to generate my own understanding and applying the accounting principles and knowledge in giving you the critical knowledge about Qs. So let me just mention the IQs that have been fronted by different authors. Now we have 5. We have IQ, EQ, SQ, which means a social quotient, and then we have AQ means adversity quotient. So this is a different author giving different meaning of quotients. But let me bring to attention, IQ is the intelligent quotient, the ability of a person to reason out and solve problems. It is a number representing a person's reasoning ability. So the outcome number, which is normally used in testing the ability of a person, so is a total score derived from a set of standardized tests or subtests designed to assess human intelligence, IQ. So the IQ will always establish your ability in terms of intelligence. IQ was a score obtained by dividing a person's mental age score obtained by administering an intelligence test by person's chronological age, both expressed in terms of years and months. So the resulting fraction, which is quotient, is multiplied by 100 to obtain the IQ. So we have a chart which actually gives us the critical knowledge of the IQ. This is usually assessed through an IQ assessment that tests. So there is an assessment which assesses the ability. Number two, a person's ability to solve mathematical equation. That is IQ. So we are looking at your ability to solve mathematical equation. Number 2, memorize things. How do you grasp things? How do you memorize things? Number 3, identify patterns. That is IQ. How do you identify patterns? And then finally, recall lessons. Can you remember things? Can you recall things? Now, that points out the IQ. So if your IQ is high, then your mathematical formulation or solving problems is very high, memorizing is very high, identifying patterns is very high, and your recalling power is very high. Now, this is the IQ table which has been fronted by different authors. Above 130, when you score 130 and above, then we say you're very superior. You have very high IQ. Between 120 to 129, you're superior. Your IQ is superior. Between 90 and 119, you're normal. And this is the category most of the people fall. You're normal. And then 80 to 89, normal awkward. And then 70 to 79, borderline. Below 70, mental retention. So 50 to 70, some say you're sick, you're lonely. And this is the person who requires so much attention. So this is the table which generates our ability of intelligence. Now, after we are done with IQ, let's look at the EQ. Reaction to stimuli. Emotions. How do you react to stimuli? Emotions. So we are looking at the emotions. What is emotion? Reaction to stimuli. How do you react to circumstances, to events, to things? IQ refers to one's ability to manage their emotions. How do you manage your emotions? This includes the ability to understand and self-manage their own feelings in a positive way, to communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, manage conflict, and relieve stress. So that is when we say your IQ is high. You have self-management, you can communicate effectively, you're empathizing, you overcome challenges, and you can manage and relieve stress. Is the score of a person emotional intelligence? So we look at your emotional intelligence, the sadness, the feelings, the understanding. Defines as the ability to perceive, use, understand, manage, and handle emotion. So your ability to see, to perceive, to use emotions, to understand emotions, to manage emotions, and to handle emotions is all about IQ. And if you have very high IQ, you are good about life. So types of emotions. As we talk about IQ, what are these types of emotions? There are many different types of emotions that have an influence on how we live and interact with others. At times, it may seem like we are ruled by these emotions. Now, there are two types of emotions. We have primary emotions and we have secondary emotions. Primary emotions are common to all: joy, sadness, fear, anger, surprise, disgust. So these are the emotions that we encounter in life, and it is common to all of us. Secondary emotions arises due to the first emotions, which is the primary emotions: envy, jealousy, pride, greed. So these are the emotions that you must control. You must have control. You must use them. You must make use of them. Joy is good. Sadness is good. Fear is good. Anger is good. Surprise is good. Disgust is good. But how do you manage them? That is the question. Now, once we are done with EQ, now we come to SQ, the most important thing in life. To me, this is what you need to have, the ESQ. SQ is critical for a living human being. The I being in human being. Listen to that. The I being in human being. Now, what is spiritual? Traditionally, spirituality refers to the religious process of reformation which aim to recover the original shape of man. So there is original shape of man which abided by the spirit, which lives in the spirit. Now we say human being is form of body, soul, and the spirit. So if these things are not in place, the body is okay, the soul is okay. But if the spirit is not in place, then you have issues in life. The ability of a person to be sensitive to things, both living and unliving things, that is spiritual conscience. So your spiritual conscience should be sensitive to both living and unliving things. The balancing act, that is spiritual quotient. Being aware of yourself, other self, and environment creates spiritual quotient. Now, the lessons from the quotients. Now, the most important lesson that I want us to have in place is that the spiritual quotient is the balancing act. Your life balance sheet must balance. Now, let me bring this in the perspective of accounts. In accounts, we say, or in finance, we say, the balance sheet must balance. And the balancing of the balance sheet is an event whereby total assets and total liabilities must be equal. Now, my perception and direction on this issue is that your liabilities are your intelligence, your assets are your emotions. But assets and emotions, if they are not balancing, there is a problem. And the balancing factor is the spirit. The spirit will allow you to balance your IQ and your EQ. So the balancing factor is the SQ. If the SQ is not in play, IQ, higher IQ, lower EQ creates a problem. Higher EQ, lower EQ creates a problem. But when you have an balancing factor, which is now the IQ, which is the SQ, the spiritual quotient, your balance sheet of life is balancing. Your assets and liabilities are balancing. And that is very possible when you are spiritual being manifest the spiritual fruits. You are spiritual being who manifest the spiritual fruits. Now, what are the fruits of the spirit? That is very critical. Remember, these are the emotional being in you. One is joy, love, peace, gentleness, kindness, um, goodness, faithfulness, and self-control. So these are the things that you must own in life. You must have them for your life, for your balance sheet to balance. So the spiritual quotient, is the balancing factor in your life. You miss it, you miss life. You have it, you enjoy life. So your balance sheet must balance. Be informed. Your life balance sheet must balance. Thank you and enjoy the portion.